Well, good day and welcome to yet another straight up program with myself, Grantley. It's nice to have your company, and can I say Happy New Year? It is a new year, and we're excited about all of the things that our Saviour is going to be unraveling as we go through the year. So I'm very excited, as per usual, about my guest that's on with me today. She is a very talented young lady from Chicago. I hope I haven't got that right. I hope I have got that right. She's from Chicago, and she says she's a hip hop artist. However, her latest project isn't a typical hip hop project. It isn't. It caught my attention as I was doing some research, and I can safely say that I'm a fan. She's put out a number of EPs over the last 8 years or so. But her latest project is a 5-track EP that has captured my attention, and I can safely say that I am a big time fan of hers now, her music. And shortly after the interview, you will definitely hear, if you keep listening, maybe one or two of her tracks. That's if I don't get to it before that. So please welcome with me my guest onto program today, Aasha Marie. How are you, my sister?
I am well. Good day. Good day.
Good day. It's so nice to have you. We've been texting each other back and forwards for the last few days or so. But to actually see you in the flesh is real cool. And we share some similarities. Your husband is from the Caribbean. My parents are from the Caribbean. So we've got lots to talk about there. But
Yeah.
your musical background is quite vast, quite wide. You don't just stick to one particular genre. But I wanted to give our audience today. I wanted to give them a real sort of rounded view of who you are. So let's start off by at the very beginning. Where was you born, and tell us, your education path and all that sort of thing, leading right up to how you got involved in music.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Aasha Marie, born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. I grew up in a neighborhood called Inglewood, West Inglewood, which now is kind of like a byword or synonymous with violence, and I'll get to that part later because that is very much tied into hip hop and the type of hip hop that I choose to do. So born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. So my when my parents married, my mom was 19, my dad was 44. So my dad, he had been married, twice before her. He had already had, older children,
Yeah.
and but I was the first child of him and my mom. So again,
Hmm.
they're 25 years apart. So my mother was 19. She had me at 20. So she actually grew up singing in church. My dad was a pastor. So those are kind of my humble beginnings. Like most people in the music industry, grew up in the church, father preaching. Both of my
That's
parents
right.
sing. My
Yeah.
immediate family all sing. My aunts, cousins, my grandmother sang in quartet, so music was just always around me. The thing with me was I was really, really, really shy. And my mom, she has this story. She said, yeah, she said, I used to teach you like nursery rhymes and things like that. And my first song was actually a song from the 80s. She said I was maybe 3 or 4, and I was singing Lisa, Lisa, and Colt Jams. I can't remember the name of the song, but it was like, "Ooh, baby, I think I love you from head to toe." Like Lisa, Lisa, and Colt Jam. That was like my first song, and yeah, and she kept me surrounded by music, my mom and my dad, because in the church that's all we did. We sang. I felt like I was in church 7 days a week growing up. And I was educated in private schools. So I went to a Christian school called Emmanuel Christian School. I then transferred to a Catholic school. High school, I was in a public school in the western suburbs of Illinois, so outside of the city. And then around all that time, my we were always, my dad put me and my siblings. I have two younger siblings from my dad's marriage to my mom. So he put us in piano lessons. And what was happening was that the church always had a revolving door of musicians. And one of my mentors, he said, Aasha, he said, you have to determine what type of musician you want to be. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you have some musicians who play to support a habit. He said, you have other musicians who play because it's their livelihood. And then you have musicians that just, they have like their main job, but this is something they do on the side.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was just something that I was made to play, right? Because my dad was a pastor. He was like, I'm tired of these musicians. They're in, they're out. I'm going to teach my kids how to play and put them in lessons. So that's what he did. So I was a church musician playing the organ and piano from age 13 till
What?
around like my mid 20s. Yeah. So
So
that was how I
you
started.
could play the Hammond organ at that
Yeah.
age? At that age, you could play the Hammond.
Yeah, that's when we started. So from age 13 till my mid 20s, I played for his church and I played for other churches, teaching choirs, directing choirs.
Wow.
Um and I was very, very shy as a child. My mom said in order to get me to sing, she would have to stand up next to me because I would be so shy I would cry. But
Yeah.
eh, but I feel like church is the perfect training ground
It is.
because you learn like it's just kind of innate, and what is not innate you just kind of develop because you have all this greatness around you, and you're thrown in there and they're like, okay, do it, just play, and you just have to just do it. And so I love that upbringing. I always say I wouldn't trade it for the world. I feel like not only did it keep me grounded, it kept my head on straight. And I think a lot of the pitfalls that my friends fell into, because I grew up in the church in the hood, but I also had a father who was very present in the home. My parents divorced when I was young, but my dad stayed very active and present in our lives. And so, compared to a lot of my friends where we grew up, that was kind of like the one element that I felt really kept me and my siblings together and out of the streets and out of just other pitfalls and things like that. Like we had friends, involved in things, cousins and people that were in gangs and different things like that. But I felt like the church and my dad and just having that home base was really important for us. But
Kept you grounded, right? Kept you
yes,
grounded.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I started rapping at 15, 16 years old. At that time, this album came out that for hip hop culture was legendary at the time. It was Jay-Z's The Blueprint. So I
Okay.
remember this album came out, and back then I had a 6-disc CD changer, right? And music was very much a communal experience. It's like, all right, this new album came out, we're gonna listen to it. So you
Mm.
put it in, everybody's hovered around the speaker, we play it, and it's like it's the best thing in the world. So instantly, my brother, who's 3 years younger than I, and his friends, they started writing these rhymes. And so that continued on for several days. And I'm like, what are they writing? They're really, what are they writing? And usually you see, boys outside playing ball, they're doing this. And I'm like, why are they writing? What is going on? So I asked them, they're like, oh, we're writing rhymes, we're writing, rap songs. And I'm like, rap songs? And they were like,
Yeah.
you should try it. Now, at this time, since I was a young child, like elementary school through high school, I had a composition book, and no one knew, but I was writing songs, not rap songs at this time, but just songs like gospel songs, just regular R&B songs. I was journaling, I was writing plays, poetry, short stories, you name it. It was like my writing book. And so they said, Aasha, you should try it. So around this time, I'm like 15. So I go upstairs in my room, I write like I don't know, 12 bar, 16 bar verse. I came back downstairs and I spit it for them. They were like, man, just tripping out over it. They're like, this is really good. So we started a rap group at that time.
Yeah.
So they were like, we need to come up with our rap names. So my rap name, believe it or not, was Young Gunner. That was my
Young
rap name.
Gunner.
That
Sounds
was my
funny
rap
now.
name.
Sounds funny
Yeah,
right
no,
now, doesn't it? Young Gunner.
yeah, I mean, crazy, right? But I was young, and when you're young, you gravitate towards who's on the radio, who's hot in the music industry at that time. Now,
Hmm.
at the same time, I'm still playing in church. I'm still doing gospel music. So, I get to high school, like my last year of high school. My aunt, who was a pastor, she asked me to come with her. She was like a traveling minister. Like she would go to different places and preach and different things like that, and she took me with her to this revival. And I remember this lady, it had a profound experience on me. Like I had grown up in church, but I haven't had many like personal like encounters with God, like spiritual experiences. So when
Yeah.
I went to this retreat with her, this lady, older lady, like passed out. She passed out in the middle of service, like out cold. And I just remember my aunt just praying for her, and like all the other ladies were hovered around her, and then her eyes just open, like we thought she was dead. Like it was very scary. We thought this woman was dead, so she passed out, and my aunt started praying, and then her eyes popped open, and they were like praising God. And I don't know why, but it just had such a profound experience on me. I'm like, yo, God is real. Like I need to take, this life more seriously. And then I was talking to my aunt, and I felt like that was kind of like my conversion.
Yeah.
um but it wasn't though, because it was like right after that it's like right back to the same thing. So but it has such a huge impact on my life. When I went back home, I told my brothers, I was like, yeah, I'm not rapping anymore. I threw out all these kind of, albums that I had, all my rap, all my R&B albums, and I just kind of like dipped when it came to music for a while. And so I was still kind of a lover of music, but I wasn't engaging it heavily in rap and hip hop. So fast forward to college, I went to one of the best private, most expensive institutions in the world. It's called Columbia College Chicago. I think Kanye went there for a semester. Like a lot
Nice
of,
one.
it was one of those schools like everybody had been there. They didn't finish, but they went
They
there.
visited. They passed through.
Yeah, yeah. I was a broadcast journalism major. And so I went to school for journalism and got my bachelor's degree in that. But at that time, like a lot of people always thought I was a music major because I was always around the people who were doing music, who were singers, composers, hip hop
Yeah.
artists, all those things. And then I started hanging around a lot of musicians. I was dating a musician at that time who was playing for some known gospel artists. And I started going to like studio sessions with him. And this was my first time like in studio sessions. And so around that time, I had started writing gospel music, and I had formed a group. It was called Aasha and Agape, like agape love from the Bible. And I started, writing these songs, and I had friends at the school who were like majoring in like recording, engineering, mixing, and mastering. So they say, "Hey, Aasha, I heard you have some songs. Your songs are really good. Let's come and come to the studio with me and record." And so I was getting free studio sessions because they needed to
Okay.
record stuff for class.
Yeah.
So it was like a
Yeah.
win-win, right? It's like, okay, you get to, record this for class, and I get to record it for free, have a demo of sorts. So, recording this music. And at that time, people started hearing about me through other friends. Me and my group started getting asked to perform in different churches, different circles, and it was really cool, for a while. And then I had an older cousin who was a drummer, well-known drummer in Chicago at that time. He was kind of mentoring me, and we were just recording studio sessions. And yeah, so that went on for like a few years. And then eventually I just think it just kind of died down. I don't know why it just died down for whatever reason. So post college, I'm working at a news station. That was my first job. I was a 21-year-old kid, super
Okay.
broke,
What was the name
working
of
at a,
the news station?
so it was it was Fox News Chicago. So I'm
Okay.
working there, right? And at that time in my life, I was working every shift known to man. Every shift known to man. At this time, I'm still writing and doing music. There were times like I had to be up at like 1 a.m. because I had to be at the station at 4. And Chicago is one of those cities where public transportation, like if you live in the city, can get you anywhere around the city, trains and buses. So I'm riding the train, right? Like 3 a.m., riding to the news station, half asleep. Like, how am I going to make it through this day? But that was my life, like day in and day out. And
Yeah.
so at one point, it was like, okay, this is really taken away from what I want to do, which is music, because I can't pour myself into my music like I want to, because I'm here and I'm tired. And I'm seeing my friends like they're doing music and writing songs and stuff. And I was like becoming kind of jealous because I'm like, man, this is so draining. And one thing that I learned about journalism, I was like, man, this is not what I want to do, because people in that business, because it's still TV, it's very cutthroat, right? Like it's still
Most
television.
definitely.
And so behind the scenes, it was like a lot of people enduring a lot of just abuse, like verbal abuse from other people. There would be people crying in bathrooms and in news meetings, frustrated. And I was just like, this is not what I want to do. So eventually I got out of that. I got some job at a call center. I was doing that. I was working at a call center, and I was working as a filing clerk. Literally the worst job in the world. So I worked in a dusty warehouse, picking up huge boxes covered in dust with like files, just all these files throughout Cook County, which is like Chicago is in like, Cook County. So we're filing these files all day long, right? But at the same time, I was kind of happy to be out of that industry and just doing something just to make ends meet. And so at that time, I connected with some friends and were like, hey, I think you should take more seriously your music. So I got back in the studio recording music, and I was just kind of doing that for a while. And then I had my second kind of spiritual encounter. I had a friend who was a rapper. He was a Christian rapper. And he said, Aasha, I think you're really talented and I think you should write, rap. And I was like, at the time, I only knew hip hop, just regular secular, hip hop. I didn't know that much about Christian hip hop. I heard about certain rappers like Lecrae, the Truth Cross movement, who were huge at that time because back then BET were playing their music videos. So that's how I knew about them, but I wasn't immersed in it like he was. And he was one of those kids, like, he really knew the Bible. I was like, you're like the youngest person that I know that's really into this stuff. I was like, I know the Bible, but I don't know it like that. But he was a super talented rapper, like amazing lyricist. And he said, your brother is a producer. My younger brother makes amazing beats. And he said, you should just try your hand at it. And around this time, he really started talking to me about spiritual things, about the Bible, about Christ. And at that time, I felt like I was in church, but I was just like dead, just empty inside and just spiritually dry. And he kind of was like the spark that lit the flame to my
Tell
spiritual
me
life.
his name. What was his name? So let's give him a shout out.
Yeah, so his name is Tyrell Morissette. He goes by TJ. Tyrell Morissette. Shout out to him. He really was the catalyst for like my spiritual life because he confronted, when people and things that you love, when people come at that and challenge that,
Yeah.
that like cuts you deep. And at the time I was in this long, lengthy relationship that really wasn't going to, result it to anything like beautiful, like a marriage or anything. And it was just kind of dead and like on and off again. And just, at the same church. And he was just like, man, you really need to take a look at the Bible and see if your life lines up with that. And when I did, it didn't. I was professing, but I really wasn't living the life. Like my life wasn't transformed by what I was reading and hearing. And so he sent me this sermon and I was watching it in my room at this time, right? I was actually kind of contemplating suicide at this time because even though I was working like three jobs, I was at a call center, I was working as a filing clerk, and I was still playing for churches. And I just felt I was like 22, 23. I felt like I should just end my life. And at this time I'm living in my dad's house in the basement.
Wow.
I
That,
felt
that that
super
is so deep. That is so
yeah.
deep.
Yeah,
For
I
you to
felt like
feel that way.
yeah, I felt so unsuccessful, because I was like, man, you know what? Because at this time, it's like, go to college, get your degree, get out and get this amazing job, and then have a family. And I didn't have any of those things, right? Around that, when I graduated from college, we were in the United States what they call like a job recession, where a lot of these college grads could not get jobs. And it was crazy. And I just remember I was applying everywhere in my field. And at that time, they were like, well, Aasha, you're in journalism. At that time they said you have to move to some small town like Poland, Iowa, and like just get a job. And I'm like, I don't even have the money, like the finances to do that. It was just crazy. And so I'm like, what am I gonna do? And I felt empty. I felt like all the things that they say to do in your life as a young person, I was doing them. And nothing. It amounted to nothing. And then spiritually, I was just dead. So I remember I was in my bedroom just contemplating ways to kill myself, to end my life.
Wow.
And
That's deep.
yeah, just desperate for something new, like a change. I don't
Yeah.
think I haven't even said that out loud. This may be the first time I'm telling this story. And I don't know. I was just like, man, nothing's working. The guy I love doesn't love me back. Like my career, nothing's happening. And but that guy, I thank God for him because at this time Facebook was still just for like college students at the time. I don't think it had opened up to like everybody.
Yeah.
And so he would send me messages on there. So he sends this sermon. So in the midst of all of that, I watch it, jaw drops on the floor, right? Heart just ripped to shreds at this message.
Yeah.
And changed my life. And I remember just sobbing, just crying. And I had to sit with that message, right? And it's crazy because anytime he would call me before that to share some truth or whatever, I would hang up. I was like, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear it. But when I would get by myself, my heart would just be like, it's like God was like wrestling with me. Like,
Yeah.
like,
We've all been
relate.
there.
And I just, it was a crazy experience. And so I watched that sermon, and I just remember being in my room. 'Cause I didn't get saved in the church. Like I feel like God didn't. I was in my room, and
The best place for you, Aisha, the best place for you to get saved, okay,
yeah, in my room.
is in your room. Is
Yeah,
in your room. You know, it
yeah,
is.
yeah. Asked his daughter singing, playing everything. So I'm in my room, and I feel like God really met me there. And I just remember just crying out to God, repenting, like, rescue me. Like, I want to end my life. I feel like I have no purpose, no identity. And then and God found me, rescued me, saved me. And then that began my spiritual transformation. I would say that's when I truly knew what being a Christian was. Not just professing, but living it out, like loving people, sharing your life, and letting your life really speak to that. So then I started going to the church that TJ had invited me to, and I met all these young people, amazing young people, uh, man, really into the word and into God. And so at this time, I had took a break from music. I wasn't even listening to a lot of music at that time. I was just kind of living life, and they were heavy on Christian rap. At that time, DJ Wale that you spoke about was huge at that time. So listening to a station, so I started discovering all these amazing Christian rappers, Lecrae, KB. At the time, Natalie Lauren went by the name Susie Rock. There was just Tripoli, the whole Reach Records team crew, all of that, Flame, all these rappers, Bizzle. And so I'm like, man, this is amazing. And I could still rap, but I just hadn't done it for years at that point. And so I'm listening to this. I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. This is amazing. So around that time, P4CM in California was huge. It
Yeah.
was a spoken word group. And I started watching their YouTube videos. And I mean, their stuff had hundreds of thousands of views, millions of views. So I started watching it, and I was inspired. So when I watched that, I started writing these rhymes. I would be up writing rap songs 3, 4 in the morning. It was spilling out of me. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. Because at that time I had put rap down for years, started writing these rap songs. And then my brother at that time was getting ready to go to LA. He's super talented artist and musician. And I said, hey, do you have some beats? Because I would love to write to them. So I started writing to these songs, and Breaking Obscurity was the culmination of that, which was my first EP. And at that time I was just kind of trying stuff, experimenting with sound like New Christian.
And that would have been what, 2000, what, 14, would it?
2014, yeah,
Yeah.
2014.
Okay.
So I wrote that project. My brother and my cousin were already well into the music scene in Chicago and beyond, and so they directed me to studios they recorded at. Shout out to Classic Studios in Chicago, and that was where I recorded the first project, and then it just
Okay.
kind of went from there. And I felt like
All right.
God was just connecting me to people, giving me everything I needed to learn music and learn about the music business and the industry. So recorded that project, and then at that point I was performing, man, everywhere that I could, because I was like, I want to get my feet wet as a performer. Now the gospel music, I had by this time uh, hundreds of songs composed of gospel music. And so Signs of Life, my current project, is one of the ones that those were songs that I wrote when I was at Columbia College. I was 19 when I wrote those songs. And so
Wow.
now I'm in my mid 30s. And so this project was like a long time coming. And so I
Now,
reconnected with.
Signs of Life. Okay, Signs of Life. It was during the pandemic, right? Correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong. During the pandemic is when that all started to come together.
Yes. So 2019, because one of my friends from my teen years, we knew each other like on the gospel scene. He was a musician, I was a musician. He was living in LA, and he came back to Chicago. And one of my best friends, shout out to Trail, we call him Tricky. Shout out to my best friend
Tricky.
Tricky. Tricky, yeah. Yeah. It's because of how he plays. Like he has a lot
Okay.
of like tricks and things like in his playing.
Big
So
up
we got
Tricky.
together. Yeah, big up to him. We got together, and we were like, yo, this music, we were all young when we started, like 18, 19 years old. So we're like, let's revitalize it, right? Let's bring it up to more speed, contemporary wise. Like, let's make it sound like today. And we really wanted to combine so many different genres. I mean, at that time we were listening to Snarky Puppy, Corey Henry, just all the in jazz, all gospel musicians are influenced by jazz and vice versa. But gospel is always a foundation. We're like, let's combine all of these things. I love alternative, I love rock. So all
Yeah.
those things. And so we just started at meeting up weekly, routinely, working on the music. So I wrote every song on the project, but again, I wrote it when I was 19.
You
So
did a
fast forward,
great job, let me tell you.
thank you. Thank you. And so it's like, all right, I have a fresh perspective. I'm older now. Let's kind of revamp the songs. So then at this time
What was the first one? What was the first? How did it break down? Because you got the change and the other. How did it break down in terms of what songs were chosen for the album? Because it's an EP, right?
Yes. So we had so many songs to choose from, because a lot of the songs we had recorded like way back when, like 15 years ago. So for the demos that we had, we listened to them and we said, okay, which ones do we want to go on the project? So really it was a matter of, at the time when we recorded them, which ones sounded kind of close to finish composition wise that we can just tweak and brush up on. And so those were the songs. The change automatically, because at the time the lead singer, she killed the song. Like, this was back then when we recorded it when I was 19. So when I reapproached her, I called her. She had some type of voice condition. She couldn't sing it anymore. I said, we have to find somebody new.
Remember to name checker as well.
Yeah. Oh, Marilyn. Shout out to Marilyn, man.
Big shout out to Marilyn.
Yeah. So Marilyn at the time, she had some illness that was affecting her voice, so she couldn't do it. And I said, this song, we all love that song. It was very soulful. Like, the change was just soulful. Like, we all wanted to capture the soulful kind of essence of music in all of these songs.
Love
and
that
one
song.
was like, without a shadow of a doubt, single. I could see people, it kind of we wanted to put a vintage feel to it. So the music kind of has a lot of changes in it, and it just really echoes what the song is about, like having this profound change in your life. And it's a toss back to like when I was converted, and I was just like, man, this is the best thing in my life. Because remember, I'm about to end my life. I'm contemplating ways to end my life. And then this radical change, transformation happened. And so, but I feel like that's something anybody can relate to. Like, even in life, even my approach to writing a song, it's like, man, there are people like who have come out of like addictions and like stronghold like habits that they felt they couldn't break in their lives, behaviors and things. And it's just like, I can relate to that. I can relate to just being stuck in this mold, feeling like I'm never gonna get out. And then the rescue comes, and it's just a breath of fresh air. It's the best thing that ever happened. So the change, we're like, this is a single, this is a song we really wanted to push.
And it was extended as well. So it's an extended.
Yeah, like, listen, I'm a huge fan of Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. I discovered this album in the 8th grade, and I feel like he's one of the best songwriters, composers ever to do it. And Stevie had 7-8 minute songs. It just went on, and you never wanted it to end. So the reason the change is so long is because we're like, we want it to keep going. I want it to reverberate over and over, and just that you can just play it and you never want it to end. And so that's why we extended it. I said, when you listen to Songs in the Key of Life, you don't complain about the length of the song. Now in the industry, you have 2-minute songs, 1 minute, 30-second songs. And we were like, because we're all musicians, it's very instrument heavy.
And you know what? Here's the thing as well. As a radio presenter and a radio station founder as well, I understand why we want radio edits. I understand that. But as a DJ, I'm totally down with the 7 minutes and seconds that's on the track called Change. And the listeners who love music, music lovers, will get it anyway. So I'm so glad that decision was made. So glad. You did good. And
it's about the feel of it too. It's like if we're jamming, because again, when we were creating these songs, it was like a jam. Like, it's repetitive. We're trying different things, and it's like, man, I don't want this to end. So the change, that was one. Nobody Greater was another one. I knew I wanted to rap, not on every song, But I knew I wanted to rap on that one, so I was like, we have to include this one. My cousin, shout out to D Louse, he was a contestant on The Voice. He was on Team Legend. I forget which season he was on, but he's Grammy nominated. He did the
Yeah,
demo. He did such a great job. I said, "Cuz
he
you
did a
have to
good
sing.
job. Big shout
You
out
have
to
to
you,
actually
brother.
sing it. You have to actually sing it." But it was this whole project was birthed out of the pandemic because when 2020 hit, my main producer, one of my main producers, Tricky, he had gotten sick and was hospitalized with COVID, and I it was like a scary experience because at that time a lot of people were getting sick and dying, and I was trying to call him, I was trying to text him to find out what the status was. I was
Yeah,
calling around to his family members, and all I knew was that he was in a bad way. He was in the hospital. So I'm like crying. I didn't know what was going to become of the music at that time. And it was a scary time in the beginning of the
it must
pandemic.
have
And for a
been.
lot of yeah, and for a lot of musicians and artists, everything was on pause in the music industry. At that time, I was planning a release concert for my rap album that I had just finished, and everything. The venue that I had booked had closed, closed up shop. A
Yeah,
lot of musicians were not working at that time because of the fear of the virus, and it was really crazy. And so I had told him, eventually I got in touch with him. He was in the hospital, he got better. And I said, look, we don't have to rush anything about this music process. And I said, if once you're better and if you feel like you can pick it back up again, let's do it. So eventually we did. Me and the two producers, Slim and Trail, we got back together and started working on the songs. We said, let's do it, let's release it, because we started this process when we were like 18, 19, and we have to finish it. And so each song, for everything, I needed a ballad. Like back in the 80s and 90s, I
such
felt
a
like
sweet ballad. Such a sweet ballad.
thank you. A
Honestly.
lot of R&B singers had great ballads. And Mara Love, shout out to her. She's a native Chicago, and I tapped her to do the lead. And I said, man, she kind of sounds like a Mel LaRue. Amel
Yeah.
LaRue is an underrated singer and her voice is beautiful. So we grabbed her for that. I said we have to have a ballad. And then Without You, I wanted something that had the alternative, kind of heavy, kind of rock presence. So Without You ended up making the album. And then Grace, we concluded with Grace. Shout out to Ashley Washington. She's another native Chicagoan who's a beast. And Grace is like alternative kind of rock feel. So each song is very genre bending and genre blending. I like to call it, because I don't want to be pigeonholed to just one sound, right? I do poetry, I rap, I'm a musician, and I sing. But for this project, I really
And you
wanted to be at the
produce.
helm of producing. Yes, I love Quincy Jones as a legendary native Chicagoan and musician. And without Thriller, you know, what man, the music industry that changed Michael Jackson's trajectory and career. He was already known from Jackson 5, but Thriller really put him on the map.
Oh
And
yeah.
Quincy Jones was super instrumental in that in producing. So for me, this is a project that I funded. I wrote all the songs. I did the vocal arrangements, and I executive produced it. Right, I tapped the different musicians.
You put
And
your
shout
money
out
on
to
you put your money on the table.
yes, and again, shout out to Tricky and to Slim, because they, when it comes to the musical compositions, it's like everything that I wanted. It's like when you
Yeah.
listen to Signs of Life, it's like you're listening to Aisha's heart and her head and her imagination. Like that's what this project is. And I love it. And I think beyond gospel, it can appeal to every walk of life because it's so
I'd
soulful.
say
And
so.
I yeah.
I'd say so. It's just a well-rounded project, and it's only 5 tracks. I wish it was more actually, but I guess you guys have got your reasoning behind that. Apart from the fact that you just wanted to get to the project real quick with tracks that were kind of almost finished anyway. But I
hmm
guess at some point you're going to give us the full double album and all that sort of thing,
Oh,
right?
yes, it's coming. We're already working on some. So with each project, we already have the next project title. We started working on the songs. We just need to get in the studio and record. But I wanted to kind of just give people like a taste of like this is what you can expect to hear, because with each project that we release in this vein of music, we want to do more fusion. We want to do more like kind of experimental sounds.
I'm really
So the
pleased to
next
hear you say
project
that.
it's gonna build on that, so it's gonna sound even
Yeah.
crazier in terms of music, and you might have more longer songs because it's just like I don't. Again, my inspiration for this project,
Yeah.
especially with the song, the change was the impetus for the rest of the project.
Oh
Songs in the
man.
Key of Life. It was
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder songs in the Key of Life. It was like if I had an album, I mean, I don't even compare close to him when it comes to songwriting and
Listen, you've
composition.
got time. You've got time to get to that. You got time to get to that. You've got time to
Yeah,
get to that. Here's the
I
thing.
wanted.
I don't know much about your former projects. Okay, and
Oh, okay.
I know predominantly you are a hip hop artist, but this particular project that you brought out, it's captured my attention big time. I love what you did with the track called "The Change." I'm really pleased to hear that you're going to continue to develop and bring out more music. Um, I'm hoping that, like I said, I don't know much about. I'm hoping you're going to send me some of your earlier work already. But
Oh, for sure.
yeah, this where you're at right now with this project, if you continue down this road, my goodness. And so, yeah, and you've just stayed in um, maybe one or two states in America so far. You haven't really branched the 50 something states that there is in America, much less Japan, much less England, much less the Caribbean, much less. So you've got a way to go. I'm sure you're excited. How hard was it for you to fund this project? Because you're an executive producer on the project. How hard was it for you to come up with the means to do that?
So actually, it wasn't hard, and I want to put artists on game, right? Grants, grants. There are tons of grants available for artists, especially if you have a track record, like if you've been releasing things in the past, singles and whatnot, videos. There are tons of grants for artists to utilize. And because I've been that artist where like, I don't have the money to do that. I want to do a video. I've been that artist in the past, but I'm not that artist now because I feel like when you get to the point where like I'm taking my music seriously, I'm a serious artist. This is what I'm doing professionally. You have to find creative ways to connect with the resources when it comes to finances, right? To fund your work. And so for me, grants. I've been a recipient of 4 grants that I secured
Okay, so
in the
that's the way
pandemic.
forward. That's the way forward,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
now grants it's a competitive process, but I thank God that I've been awarded grants and that is how I've been able to fund my work, and I always keep, whatever goes into the account for music stays separate from personal, housing and the
That's
cost
not
of
going to
living.
pay the gas bill, the light bill.
Yeah, no, we
That's not
keep
going to
that.
put petrol in the tank.
Yeah, and we keep building on it. So I feel like artists, and I write too. I have a background in journalism. So throughout the pandemic, I was writing press releases, I was doing articles, I was on a plethora of things to make money to funnel right back into the music business. But grants for me have been the way to go. So I've been super
That's
blessed
great.
by
That's
God to have
fantastic.
funding, and it's really pushed the music forward. Yeah, it's
Okay, so look, you're super talented because of all of the things that God has blessed you with, the ability to write, produce, you play instruments, and you've got this knack. I can tell you've got this knack of being able to um, bring people together in order to, because you've got this thing called the collective where you bring people together as well, right?
Yeah. So when I started this project, initially it was titled God's Elect Music, and it was just bringing people together with God-given gifts and talents, and like, man, let's give this back to God and give it to the people. And so it's not formally titled that now, but whenever I get together with them in my mind and in my heart, I'm like, this is what it's about. Like this is God's Elect Music, and that's why I titled when I came out with the change as a single, it was under that name because I just wanted people to know like it's not about me, right? Like I'm not singing every song on the project, right? I'm not like the front face because I like sitting in the executive producer chair, bringing everybody together and letting their talent shine. Like collectively, this is what we created together. Now my name is on it as executive producer and a primary writer of these songs, but it was a collective effort. So
Do you think? Do you think that you're going to stick on that route? Do you think that's going forward? Is that what you're going to do?
yes, for this type of music, of course. I love the process of just creating music. Songwriting is my first love. I love songwriting and arranging and just
Yeah.
bringing together. I don't have to be the person in the front. And with my rap music, I've done that. Like I'm the artist. I'm Aasha Marie when I'm rapping and doing spoken word. But for this music, it takes a lot more, right? With rap, I just have a track and it's just me. With Signs of Life and all the other projects I'm going to release like it, it's a massive undertaking. I have to bring in singers. There's a band. It costs a lot more to do. It costs a lot more to bring together. It costs a lot more in terms of coordination. Like try coordinating rehearsals with like 10 people. It is not easy. You know
No, it
what I
can't
mean?
be
Like,
easy. It can't be easy.
yeah.
So
So
how are you promoting this your current project? How are you promoting it?
So radio, been doing a lot of radio, a lot of podcasts, a lot of just traditional media like local magazines, newspapers here in Chicago. Lord willing, TV appearances are on the way and coming. So I've just been promoting it. It's Aasha Marie Signs of Life because it was birthed out of my imagination and birthed from my heart and my soul. So I've been doing like a lot of radio and a lot of just press. That's how I've
Okay,
kind of been
good.
pushing it forward. And we'll have some more, we have music videos out too. That's been another avenue we've been pushing the music through. But yeah, I just plan to keep going. But for right now, primarily just media and press. And yeah, this is my baby and I want to see it through to the end. And
Oh,
this is
what a
definitely
beautiful
a hit.
baby! What a
Thank
beautiful
you.
baby! Tell us how we can get our hands on the project.
So I do have physical copies that you can purchase. If you want to get a physical copy. So I know CDs aren't popping right now like they used to be, but I think it's great memorabilia to have. And it's great to see like the art, on the project and the songs
Yeah,
who produced,
it
wrote
is.
everything. So you can contact me. But my website is a primary way. So it's aashamarie.com, www.aashamarie.com. If you want to book me for a show, to come speak, to come perform, you can find everything there. All of my videos, any press or articles that have been written about me and my collective, you can find there. Also, if you have Apple TV Plus, I have to shout this out. This is from my hip hop project. If you have Apple TV Plus, there is a docu-series that was executive produced by Hillary and Chelsea Clinton called Gutsy. And it's a docu-series that focuses on women who have done things that were groundbreaking in culture and in the industry of music.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
episode 6 is called Gutsy Women Step Up. And my song is featured in episode 6. So once you
Oh
get to kind of
wow.
the end of that, you hear my song. It's called Dapper. It's from my rap project. It's playing at the end of that. So you
We
can
gotta
also
go
find me
check
there.
that out. We gotta go
Yeah,
check that out.
I have some more placements and things on the way too, in the work. So yeah, Grantley, I really just like kind of being behind the scenes, like putting my stamp on the music and having my identity kind of be there because I feel
Yeah.
like again, I don't want to be pigeonholed to just one thing. I'm an artist and a creative and I just like to spread out with that. So this project really is it's my happy place and I look forward to doing a lot more jazz fusion. I
Wow.
wish I could play some of the unreleased stuff, but I have to wait. But I don't know. I'm just really happy about it. But AashaMarie.com, of course, Instagram. We're in the Instagram age. So Instagram, you can find me there, Aasha.Marie. I'm semi-active on Instagram, trying to get better at that.
And
And
your
then I also have a
Facebook?
YouTube.
Your
Facebook is
Facebook?
Aasha Marie. Yeah, Facebook is Aasha Marie, and it's the same for YouTube. If you type in Aasha Marie, you can find all my stuff there. Yeah, all of my music.
Wow. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. I
For
really do
having me.
appreciate you. And I'm so glad that I stumbled across your music. I am probably your biggest fan at the moment in the
Thank
UK.
you. Shout out to UK. UK has been showing a lot of love to me lately with this project, and I'm super grateful. We us American musicians, we always admire, the UK because I feel like the UK has such an amazing grasp on music, man. Like I don't know, you all have like just a great kind of like music. I don't know, musical identity is what I want to call
Yeah,
it, or
most
just affinity
definitely. Most
affinity
definitely.
for music and the arts, and especially with a lot of Black American musicians, just historically, if their careers ended here, they were able to go to the UK and just continue, just
Yeah.
because of the massive fan base there. So I appreciate that kind of connection with
I
music,
kind of,
especially
I
with
kind of feel, I kind of feel like it's not going to be that long before we see you over here in the UK, and you've given all your details. So if anyone's watching right now and you want to get in contact with my sister, then please feel free to do that. It'd be a really good idea. It'd be a good look to do that. And you know, your husband has family in Wembley,
yes. Shout out to
so
Wednesday
so
fam.
So big shouts out to your husband's family who may come across this. But yeah, we're looking forward to hearing a lot more about what you're doing. Keep on doing what you're doing, my sister. Be encouraged. You have shared some things with us that a lot of people wouldn't have the guts to, and I kind of feel like there's something ever so special about what you're doing. Some people would call it ministry, whatever, but there is something
It's
special
life,
about you.
right? It's life. Life has ups and downs, and I'm glad I shared that here, because for any musician, artist, any person, right? How you start is not how you have to finish in this world, right? Like, that experience was a moment in my journey, but it didn't mark the end of my journey. And I know it
It
sounds
didn't
cliche. It's
define.
life.
It doesn't define you. It's not
Yes,
who you.
yeah.
Yeah. So just keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We give God thanks for who you are and whose you are. And I am so pleased that I stumbled across you. It's no it's not, it's a God incident. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I'm so pleased. Thank you for your time. May God continue to bless you and keep you.
God bless.
All right, so there you go. My guest on today's program, Aasha Marie. The EP is out, as you heard. Go get yourself a copy, and I look forward to greeting you next time on the show. For now, Grantley is out of here.